Welcome to Imperfect Genius, the podcast that helps Black women thrive by providing advice on effectively navigating the business development journey and offers advice to all women on building successful careers in the tech industry. I'm your host, Rachel Foster, a tech professional, educator, and entrepreneur. Today, I'm speaking with Ruky Tijani, a trademark attorney and the founder, creator, and managing attorney of Firm for the Culture. Ruky founded Firm for the Culture after years of serving as an intellectual property attorney in the Silicon Valley office of the top litigation firm in the country. Firm for the Culture was born out of Ruky's passion for the law, social impact, and social entrepreneurship. Ruky is a Nigerian-American first-generation professional from the projects of Brooklyn, New York, a graduate of UC Berkeley School of Law, and a member of the New York and California state bars. She loves to cook, sing, and hike. Ruky, welcome to the podcast.
Woo, so good to be here, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. I got to thank you so much for being here. I know personally how valuable your time is. And
shucks.
So for you to take time out of your day to come here and talk to me on mic, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me. You are an amazing person. So it's a privilege to be on your platform.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm flattered. I'm flattered. Let's dive right in. I want to start with your founder story. I would, having read your background and knowing your background, it seems obvious to me, maybe not to everyone, but it seems obvious to me that you are a very talented IP attorney, intellectual property attorney. And based on your background, it makes sense that you would strike out on your own and want to start your own firm. But why Firm for the Culture? Because I imagine that diverse founders are probably going to be less likely to seek out an intellectual property attorney. Am I wrong?
So that is a really, really good question. And before I address, the likelihood of diverse founders seeking out an IP attorney, I do want to start with the why behind Firm for the Culture.
Yes.
And a lot of it relates to your point, my own background and experiences, but not in the way that many would anticipate. I'm a first generation everything from the projects of Brooklyn, New York, graduated from Berkeley, all this great fancy stuff. But even as I was navigating, the upper echelons of success, I wanted to quit being an attorney.
Oh.
It was difficult, and not necessarily intellectually difficult, so to speak, but it was hard to navigate spaces where you constantly found yourself as the only one who looked like you.
Oh,
and because of that, exactly. And because of that, it just felt like our stories didn't matter. It felt like our contributions to the culture didn't matter. It felt like our creativity didn't matter. So relating that to the question about why a lot of diverse founders may not necessarily seek out an IP attorney, what I've realized in my experiences, they're not encouraged to. They're not told that their amazing podcast name matters. They're not told that a hashtag that goes viral, if they stick that on a shirt or if they put that in front of a workshop title that can be federally protected. They're not told that their drawings and their artistry can be protected. They're not told these things. So in realizing that these stories, much like my own, were not necessarily being centered in the spaces I've navigated, I wanted to quit. Because otherwise the law just feels very inaccessible. It feels very esoteric. It feels, it feels like this pie in the sky dream that I would never be able to accomplish because I'm not white enough. So frankly, right?
Right.
So, but even in the midst of wanting to quit, there was divine intervention. I'm a God girl, so you'll hear him sprinkles around a couple of times in our conversation today. And I had mentors and I had counselors and I had just people in my circle really reminding me of why I decided to become an attorney, which was really to give voice to those who may not have looked like the status quo, so to speak, right? In terms of navigating certain spaces and places. So after I decided to recommit myself to the legal space, I told myself it wasn't going to look the same way. So before I struck out on my own, I joined the litigation firm in the Silicon Valley. And I loved it. I loved engaging patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. I loved kind of being in the war room, so to speak, kind of getting ready for huge litigation cases on patents and the like. But even then, the stories that mattered to me didn't seem like they mattered to the lawyers who were getting paid 750, 850, $1,000 an hour, right?
Right, right.
So because of that, I decided to start Firm for the Culture, which really doubles as my love letter to culture and to case law. It allows me uh, to essentially affirm in myself as well as others the intersection of culture and case law in a way that allows founders like you, founders like the many amazing clients that I've been able to serve, it allows them to see themselves in the story of intellectual property.
Well, and I
So
think
that, yeah,
I think what you're doing is very important. I think the first step too in letting them know that their intellectual property matters is by explaining to them what intellectual property is, because I think part of the problem, and this is just what I think, and if you disagree, then feel free to let me know. But I think part of the reason that they don't necessarily reach out to an IP attorney is because they don't understand the things that are intellectual property. Like you mentioned hashtag when you were talking about it. And you alluded to it when you were talking about how you enjoy working with patents and trademarks and things like that. But let's start with giving the listeners an education on what is intellectual property. Let's start there.
absolutely. And I think it's a really great point that you raised. So you've seen me live. So I'll start off with this. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. What is that?
I'm loving it. Hey.
Exactly. Or dun, dun, dun.
Oh, is that NBC?
It is.
Yes,
It's
yes.
NBC, which is probably you're probably hearing that more so than ever before because you're
Because of
around
the
the
Olympics.
Olympics. Exactly.
Right.
So believe it or not, those sounds are trademarks.
Mm.
And what is a trademark? A trademark is a form of intellectual property, a brain baby, as I like to call it, a manifestation of the mind in a way that's tangible, concrete, and monetizable. Trademarks, which are literally the names, colors, sometimes even sounds associated with somebody's businesses, goods, or services. Trademarks allow two companies to sell the same exact thing at the same exact time to the same exact person in the same exact geographical location, so long as their stories are distinct,
Mm.
so long as their brands are distinct. Think about Samsung versus iPhone. Think
Mm.
about Uber versus Lyft, right?
Mhm.
Think about Hershey's versus Dove chocolate, so to
Mhm.
speak, right?
Mhm.
So these distinct stories are what matter when we're talking about trademarks. Can a business or brand owner allow a consumer, when navigating the marketplace, to immediately identify who the business owner is, the quality of goods and services that they're selling, and the stories that are related to the goods and services in a way that allows them in split seconds to pledge loyalty to those
Mm.
to that brand in the form of payment, in the form of following you on Facebook, in the form of you know um, referring your services to others.
Mhm. Mhm.
Without trademarks, it would be really, really difficult. And I tell people this to go to the supermarket.
Oh,
And the
okay, you
reason I
have to
say
explain that
this,
one to me. Okay.
yeah.
I'm
So
all ears.
think about when you go to the supermarket and you go inside the soda or soft drink aisle, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It takes you a split second if you're looking for Coca-Cola to find the Coca-Cola, grab the Coca-Cola, put it in your cart, and get to step in. Now that's a supermarket in your own neighborhood. Like say you go to another supermarket across the country, your analysis is not going to be any different. The reason why is because of the brand identity tied to the business that provides soft drinks called Coca Cola. Because we've had up until this point through marketing, through experiences, through our own, through our own interactions with the product, because we've had a trustworthy experience we are not going to question whether this bottle that has this red and white label on it is safe enough for us to drink.
Let me make that example even more concrete for the listeners, because my listeners know, because I talk about it all the time, that I'm dyslexic and I like reading is a challenge for me. So if not for branding, when I go to the grocery store, I would not know what I was buying half the time, because I buy it based on the colors and the logos and the imagery on the package. And when they when companies rebrand, it messes up my head, because I'm like, wait, I can't find the thing that I'm looking for. And also I have a lot of food allergies. So a lot of times I buy the same thing over and over again, because I don't want to have to read all the ingredients again to make sure that this is something that I can eat. I just know that this brand has these ingredients and I can eat it. So I just wanted to make that example even more concrete for
Exactly.
the
And that
listeners.
is literally one of the reasons behind why trademark law exists. It's to protect the consumer. It's to allow you, in a split second determination, to obtain information about a product or a service, right? It is
Awesome.
literally the mark of a company or individual's trade. Now, in contrast, we have copyright. So whereas trademarks can be the name of your business, the slogan attached to your business, think about the Nike swoosh symbol. It can even be not slogan, the logo,
tag,
the logo
logo on the
attached
tag.
to,
Yeah.
I apologize. The logo attached to your business, the Nike swoosh symbol, the slogan, the just do it, right? As well as even sometimes colors. Think about brown associated with mailing services. That's UPS.
Right.
Or think about blue associated with jewelry. That's Tiffany Jewelry.
Right.
Or think about fuchsia pink associated with mobile services. That's T-Mobile. So all of those things can help consumers identify in split seconds what is being sold, the quality of what's being sold, and the likely experience that one is going to have with the thing that's being sold.
Right.
Now you have copyright, and copyright speaks to the content, the literary and artistic work in a fixed medium. So copyright literally means the right to copy, and it's come to represent an entire body of laws, essentially allowing the creator, the author, the person that makes the thing, entitlement to certain damages or entitlement to certain protections by virtue of their creativity. Copyright was placed in the world or the universe, so to speak, to help creators thrive. If creators always thought that the moment that they created something, somebody else was going to essentially be able to exploit it, and that person was not going to make any money, the likelihood of them creating something new decreases.
Okay.
Right? Because you're not about to create it for
right.
I'm not creating something just so you can have all the money. That's just not
right.
I don't know about your ministry.
That's not I was to say that's not the way the world works. That might be in some futuristic movie.
So that's one of the policy reasons behind why copyright law exists. It's to help the creator stay in a sense of optimism about what is likely to happen to their work if somebody were to steal it or use it without their authorization. So copyright can protect paintings, it can protect songs, it can protect this podcast episode that we're in. To the extent that you disseminate it. To the extent that you disseminate it, or to the extent that you distribute it, or to the extent that you even take snippets of it and license it out to be shown on different platforms, right?
Okay.
So copyright is the content. Trademarks are really the face, the brand name, the brand identity, without seeing the content right away. And then you have patents, which are the inventions. Patents are the technological. Sometimes there are plant varieties that are patents. There are entire kind of algorithms or ways that things play out that are entire patents. The Google search algorithm is a patent. It's a patent, right? And that allows what's called new and non-obvious inventions. New meaning it's never been seen before. Non-obvious means it's not an immediate progression or anything that's in a particular field or industry. Like it's not a faster horse and buggy, so to speak. It's like a
Right, right,
car versus a horse and buggy.
right,
Uh,
right.
Patent law allows you to protect those things. And so those are the differences between trademarks, copyrights, and patents. So if we were to, let's drive this analogy home further. If we were to, come over to my house and watch movies on
Yeah,
Netflix or watch the Olympics, let's just say the
yeah.
Olympics because
Okay.
it's time. The TV on which the Olympics is playing, to the extent that that TV has a brand on it, and I'm actually going to pop quiz you, to the
Okay.
extent that that TV has a brand on it, maybe that TV, the name is Sony or Toshiba or RCA. What is that? What type of intellectual property is that brand?
A trademark.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, see, now you didn't. Now you got extra credit. Like I thought it was a pop quiz with multiple choice.
I got you. I got you.
Now
I
you got
got
me
you.
extra credit. Okay,
Well,
wait, no, let me see.
I'm
No,
just
let me see if I
saying.
can answer it. Let me see if I can.
Okay,
Okay, so
you got
it's
this.
a trademark because it's the brand name. It is identifying because there could be multiple different brands of television, and I've decided that this is Toshiba, and I like Toshiba better than Sony, for example. So
Come on.
those two companies can sell the exact same thing, but the branding is telling me that, oh, I know what Toshiba's all about versus Sony. I got issues with Sony. I don't really. Sony, if y'all
Exactly.
listening, if y'all want to sponsor me.
Oh,
No.
wow. This is personal. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
You got
kidding.
something to say.
But
This felt
so
like it
that's
came from the
yeah, no,
Shondo.
that's fine. But no, so that's why that's a trademark. Is because it's the brand that it's on. And okay, now for
Exactly.
extra credit, I'm gonna say that the television, the actual box could be. There's probably a patent for a television, right?
So the actual television, yes, there could be patents, and patents can even go as granular as the buttons that control
Ooh,
the quality
yeah,
of what's being shown.
yeah.
It can control the volume. It can control the on and off button. I tell people, you are actually holding thousands of patents in your pocket on a day-to-day basis. The
Mm,
reason why is because your cell phone has thousands, thousands of patents in it. A patent can cover the swipe
mm-hmm.
feature of your phone on an iPhone, for instance. It can cover the double tap, the haptics.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you click on something or upload something? That's a patent.
Mm-hmm.
So all
Mm-hmm.
of those different features can be patents that are, created or invented by inventors, and then they license it out. And then, some people may steal it. And that's why we have litigation. And then
You're like, and that's where I come into play.
that's where I come in.
No, you come in before the litigation. You come in to
That's
protect it
true.
up front. And let me tell you, I don't know if you were done with your pop quiz because I was going to tell you
Well,
why I
there was
love
one
this.
more. There was the
Go ahead.
copyright,
Right.
which is the actual. What is it?
It's the
in our
television
example,
program that we're watching. So it's the Olympics that, whoever that programming
Exactly.
that we're watching is the copyright.
Exactly. And if you try to bootleg it and sell copies of the Olympics, who's coming after you?
Who owns NBC these days? Well, you coming after me? No, yeah, like I'm like, yeah, who owns NBC?
So watch out.
No,
Watch out.
do I get a gold star?
You get many gold stars. Many gold stars.
Well, let me tell you why I love this topic, because my audience is comprised of two primary segments. We've got entrepreneurs, business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs on one side, and we have techies. We have women in tech and the tech industry on the other side. And I know a lot that cross over. I know a lot of techies who own businesses. But the beauty of this is this covers all of them. So if you're a techie and you just wrote this bomb algorithm, and assuming that you don't work for a company that made you sign away your rights when you started working for them, because that's real. I know this. I have signed those contracts. And basically what those contracts say are that anything you develop while you are working for that company belongs to them, even if you do it in your off hours. Y'all need to read those employment contracts before you sign them, especially if
within the
you
scope
are
of employment and work for
exactly
hire, and copyright is a huge deal.
right, exactly. But my point is, if you are building something on your own and you're not under a contract like that, you need to know that what can be patented, what can be copywritten, things like that. And then also on the entrepreneurship side, you need to know about your brand, and you need to know about the things that you can patent, or not necessarily patent if you're not building something, but things that you can copyright and trademark under your brand. So this conversation applies to all of my audience, and that's why I love it. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to say that. And then also, I think that for the, pulling back the curtain and for the sake of transparency, we should talk about how we know each other, which is
Oh,
our relationship.
okay.
So,
Secret
y'all,
love. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's not it. That's
that's
not why we
so
know each
funny.
other. That's not
Oh,
why we
that's
know each
so
other.
funny. Okay.
That's not
It's
why.
not that, but Ruky is my trademark attorney. So
Yes.
I found Ruky through Terry Lomax, who is a co-host of the Her Space podcast. And shout that
Shout out to
out.
Terry.
Y'all check her
Shout out to
out.
Terry.
Terry and I worked together in corporate America, and I knew she had a podcast, and I listened to her podcast. And when I thought I was going to start a podcast, as part of my brand, I reached out to her, and I was debating. I was like, well, do I really need a trademark? I was like, I don't know. And so I went back and forth, and I called her up just to ask her why, because I knew she had trademarked her podcast. I asked her why she did it, and I asked her about the process. And I'm going to tell you this, Ruky. So she was like, oh, I have a trademark attorney. I'm going to tell you this. She was like, no, I just need to tell you that the trademark process almost broke me, and Ruky saved me. She was like, it nearly broke me. She was, because I guess she tried to do it on her own first before she reached out to you. Or her and Dom, her and her partner.
Yeah.
And anyway, she was like, I'm telling you, just don't try to do it yourself. She was like, please. She was like, you don't have to call Ruky, but call somebody. She was like,
somebody,
so
anybody,
that's how,
Jesus.
that's exactly, you're going to need some help, girl.
Anybody.
Let me tell you. So that's how I found you. And we could talk about, we've had some challenges, haven't we, Ruky?
We have. And let me just say, shout out to Dom and Terry, because I didn't know about how the process almost broke them before they met me. So that speaks even more to their resilience, because as we discussed, even in, on their podcast, they had to do a brand pivot. They had to make some changes. And this was particularly after their podcast was downloaded over 1 million times.
Wow.
Right. So so when we think about, the importance of your intellectual property, this is what we're talking about. How much is it going to cost you to have to backtrack and fix things if you are not educated on taking those crucial steps in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's very important. And I've recorded some bonus content that is my reaction to, sort of what happened. So it was not a smooth, for the audience, it was not a smooth journey. I had this whole grand idea of what I thought my brand was going to be and what I thought my brand name was going to be. And Ruky had to break it to me that, sorry, no, that's not going to work out. Like, you're going to have to, you're going to have to rethink and again, in her phrasing and in her cadence, it's a brand pivot. Like, that's the elegant thing. To me, it was like, nope, you can't do it. Like, that's all I heard was no. And I was like, but wait, I've already created a website, and I've already created a logo, and I was like, what do you mean I can't use it? I was mad. I was not in a good headspace when we had that conversation.
No, it was, and it's not uncommon that these types of conversations are difficult. One of the things that I, just have committed myself to making sure I do is make space for my clients when these conversations have to be had. If you recall, and without going too deep, when I shared the information with you, it wasn't just a neutral, sterile, oh, this is what's going to happen. At different times, I paused and I was just like, "How are you feeling?"
Yeah, you
like
did.
just like, legal aside, how are you? This is not easy
Yeah.
especially considering that you just left corporate America. This is a huge investment in yourself. You know, you're in like a, you're in kind of incubation of
Mm-hmm.
sorts, just like a
Right.
baby gestating. And you have to be very careful with what you feed the baby, what you tell the baby, all these
Right.
things. So I really think of it, kind of like that in the sense of how can I make sure that I am very transparent with the
Mm-hmm.
legal implications of moving forward because
Mm-hmm.
this is still real. I'm not about to
Yeah.
sugarcoat that,
Right.
but at the same time, still encourage you to keep going because of the purposes and plans that are placed on the inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very, very, very important for me. And this is why we've structured our services in a way that allows you time to just be in your feelings. If you recall, while I was kind of breaking everything down here, I was like, go get some ice cream. Leave it
You
alone
did. You
today.
did.
Leave it alone today. It's going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just go get some ice cream.
You were
Or,
very you were very kind in the moment. You did tell me to go get some ice cream, and you also told me to give myself grace. You were like, you just take a minute to digest this and understand that, there's no way that you could have known that like you're not an intellectual property attorney. So you did not know, because I thought I had done my due. That was part of the thing that was I was mad at myself because I thought I had done my due diligence. I thought that I had investigated the name that I wanted and things like that. And what you found was so simple. And I was like, how could I not have found that? Like, I was like, I don't understand.
because you
How
didn't
did
go
I
to law
miss that?
school for 3 years. Like,
Exactly.
girl,
Exactly. That's why you were like, you need
just
to
like
give
I can't
yourself
figure out
grace.
this HTML that you probably like. I'm just like,
No, you're real. It's real. It's
you didn't go
no,
to
it's
law
true.
school for 3 years.
Yes.
So
No.
like the reason why we're able to, because, and I say that also, I say that tongue in cheek, but trademark law is not as straightforward as people think.
Right.
And like there have been times where I have been able to successfully argue that my client's branding, even though between us it sounded exactly like another person's to
Mm-hmm.
some extent, it was still different.
Right.
And I was able to get a registration
Right.
for the client. So it's important to understand. And this is where just knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know comes in. It's important to understand that there are nuance. What you're investing in, if you're talking to a good trademark attorney, what you're investing in is uh, time for us to really dig in deep into the nuances on your behalf in ways that you are not taught to do,
Mm-hmm.
so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
Yeah.
In ways that you should not have to know how to do. That's why you're paying me, right?
Right.
So even when we engaged your process after the brand pivot, there was still a lot of intentionality
Mm-hmm.
behind crafting your goods and services in a way that made it more likely that you would have gotten registered.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot that went it's so much more. This is for the listeners. It's so much more than you think it is. Like, yeah, I consider myself to be I think I'm pretty smart, and I was like, I
You
got
are.
this. Thank you. But I was like, I got this. Let me tell y'all, when it comes to trademark, I did not have this. I did not got this, okay? But
Yeah.
what I do have is Ruky. So and
Aw.
this is why Imperfect Genius trademark pending is on a good path right now.
It is. It is. So right
So,
before we started, I was so excited to just share the news with you that we are, well on our way to giving you a formal registration. And it's exciting. And I get really excited because I know and I've witnessed the work that you've done to make this happen. Like I've seen you, revamp your website yet again. I've
mhm.
seen you, work with other independent contractors to come up with your look. Like I've seen you
Yeah,
do the work.
yeah, yeah.
So when you do the work, I make sure that I work my hardest to show up in a way that you deserve. And that's the work that we did together. And that's why you're, well on your path to being an IP, to be not attorney.
I'm
To be
like,
an
I'm gonna be an
IP
attorney
owner.
now. Wait,
No,
wait.
no,
I'm gonna get
girl.
my law
No,
degree.
girl.
Can I apply for the
That's
Georgia State
not,
Bar? No.
let's not do that. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about
No,
that.
I really don't want to be an attorney. I like it. I don't. I do all due respect to you. It's not something I want to do because it's too much reading, Rookie. I can't read all that stuff.
It is. It is. But
Oh.
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
But
that's a
yeah.
whole nother conversation. Okay, so here's um I had a thought in my head and it just flew out of my head. What was I? Oh,
It's
I was
okay.
gonna. I know what it was. I was gonna segue to the next question that I was gonna ask you. So, as we discussed before, like I don't calling an intellectual property attorney is not necessarily something that diverse founders are going to do right off the bat. So, while you
Yeah.
have their attention, what are some tips that you can offer to entrepreneurs, founders, and aspiring entrepreneurs?
So I have legal tips and then I have non-legal tips
Okay.
because I'm celebrating my 5th year full time in entrepreneurship, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Uh, One thing I'll say, and I'm still learning this as I grow, is that your community is everything.
Ooh, yeah.
As an entrepreneur, it's very, very easy to become isolated and siloed as you are building the backbone of what is ultimately your company. And I have definitely battled in a very different way with depression and anxiety. Uh, and I say different relative to how I engaged in corporate. In corporate, I could take, a sick day and just rest to some
Mhm.
extent. In entrepreneurship, that sick day is costing me to some
Mhm.
extent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's understanding that your value um, resides aside and apart from how successful your company is. And in fact, understanding your worth and your value is going to be important to the long term sustainability of your business and your brand. Because then you'll value rest and then
Right.
you'll value charging your worth and then you'll value, standing 10 toes down on how much you're charging. Right.
Mhm.
So so those are the non-legal things. The legal one is if you have a brand or a business making impact, you have a business or brand worth protecting. And one of the things that I really work hard to do, and you've seen this, Rachel, so I'm grateful that you've been able to witness this, is I really work hard to disseminate education in a way that is relatable, in a way that centers our unique experiences. And I do a lot of presentations and workshops as part of our own social impact mission to make
Mhm.
sure that even if you never engage with me as your attorney,
Yeah.
you're not out here looking crazy in these internet and IP streets, right? Like,
Yes.
we don't have time for that, right? As not on my watch, as Iana would say, not on
Yeah.
my watch.
Right.
So, so that said, my encouragement to, in terms of legal to founders and entrepreneurs is if you have a business making impact, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have a business making 6 figures a year, because impact can be calculated or measured in many different ways, including you get a bunch of followers, you're featured in Forbes, you are about to do a TED talk. These are really touchstone points. And I would even say go even before that, but better late than never. These are really touchstone points to really start to tell yourself, oh, this is something worth protecting.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
something worth trademarking. This is something worth copywriting. This is something worth patenting because people are listening and they're resonating.
Let me ask you this because I think that again, and I know this is something that I struggle with myself. I think that another reason that diverse founders don't necessarily it's not even that they don't pick up the phone to call an IP attorney, but maybe they call too late or they think about it too late because I know I heard you in one of your workshops talk about I think it was the Black Lives Matter hashtag, that when they
Mm,
decided that they wanted to trademark that, it was too late because it was already part of the common parlance, basically. So it was like it was too
yeah.
common for them to trademark because they didn't trademark it up front. So the point that I'm getting at, or the question that I'm getting at, is when you were saying like maybe like you're about to do the TED talk or whatever it is, it might actually be too late at that point in time. I think sometimes people are thinking, well, I don't have anything worth trademarking yet. Like they're thinking, well, I got to get X number of followers, or I got to make this much money, or I got to do so much before it's ready to be trademarked. But at that point, it's possibly too late. So I'm getting at a question here, which is that if I just have an idea, and I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it on behalf
It's
of the
okay.
listeners. If I just have an idea, can I trademark that? Like what point between I have an idea and Black Lives Matter is this massive thing that everybody knows and I can't trademark anymore? Like, where is the point at which you need to start thinking about that trademark?
When you are uncomfortable that somebody else may have your brand name.
Got it. Okay.
When we have over 300 clients at this point, which probably means, reverse engineer the conversion rate, all that stuff. We've talked to well over 1,000 founders, right? And even more through, different mediums. And nothing in my experience has been as convincing to founders who have 1,000,001, different priorities than me simply saying to them, are you okay with your brand name no longer being yours? And the reason I say that is because going back to the idea, application spectrum that you've drawn out, that can even happen before your idea is concretized. Now, let me be clear. Copyright, you actually need something that you're working with. Like you actually need the thing to protect. Like
it needs to exist.
Copyright does not protect actual ideas.
Right.
However, and this is not to say trademark protects ideas, but it is to say you can file what's called an intent to use application before even implementing the idea that you have. And in fact, we did that with you, right?
Yeah.
We did that with Imperfect Genius. We filed an intent to use application because we wanted to make sure that we were the first to file at the USPTO, so that when you do implement your podcast services or your webinars or workshops or t-shirts, what have you, we are not worried about somebody sending us a cease or desist because we already have a record of your prior ownership.
Right. And it's important to note for the listeners, you can file the intent to use, but at some point you have to prove that you are actually using it. You can't sit on something. Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is because in other podcast conversations, we've talked about domain names and how people can just get a domain name and sit on it. So I just want to point out, you cannot sit on a trademark. Like you at some point have to do something with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I tell people that and trademarks are not like domains in at least two aspects. One, you can't just sit on it. You can't be a trademark squatter like you can be a domain squatter.
Right.
Two, it's entirely possible for two people to own pretty much the same domain, and the only difference is a letter.
Right.
Whereas with trademarks, the standard is way different. The standard is not simply whether these two marks are identical, but the standard is whether these two marks are likely to cause confusion in the marketplace. And that is a very, very broad, all-encompassing, case law-rich question that has certain implications in ways that domain names may not. And so like I tell, like one example that I use is what is it? Oh my gosh, I'm literally like, okay, so I'll go with another example because I blanked out on the first one. But when we were filing for the trademark for Firm for the Culture, we also had to grapple with the possibility that there may be a por la cultura, which is for the culture in Spanish.
Okay.
Even though they don't look identical, one is in Spanish, one is in English, they do have a similarity of commercial impression.
Right.
Or they are likely to cause confusion in the marketplace. Because trademark law assumes, interestingly enough, more so than I think many other parts of the legal industry, trademark law assumes that the country is diverse
Yeah.
and assumes that the country is a melting pot. So it's going to assume that a good number of the consumers on the U.S. marketplace are going to be from Spanish-speaking countries
Oh, okay.
or speak Spanish.
Right.
So if they stop and see a firm, por la cultura
Right.
or abogados por la cultura, lawyers
Mm-hmm.
for the culture, and they also see firm for the culture, it's not unreasonable for them to believe that both of these brands are related, if not the same brand.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So that said, that's really the crucial difference. Adding a letter is not going to save you.
Right. Right. Right.
To the trademark likelihood of confusion
Right.
analysis.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That's very helpful. Well, I want to start to wrap this up, but first I want to ask, what's next for Firm for the Culture?
Really going beyond trademarks. We've had a lot of success in the trademark space, 95% win rate. We've worked with amazing law firms and all the like, and as well as clients. But one of the things I am seeing over and over is that more than trademarks is needed for a lot of founders from diverse backgrounds to protect the ecosystem that they are building.
Okay.
And with that, we are really working on getting into licensing. So now that you have your brand, how can you leverage your brand for money?
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're working into more contractual review. So now that you have your brand and you now want to sell your business, what does a good and adequate negotiated contract look like?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
also working with copyright. Okay, you got your brand. Now you have webinars and podcast episodes and books. Let's make sure that content is protected.
Right.
Right. So those are the spaces. And then we're also working on certification. Like you now have your content, you built your business. What does it look like to teach others who are now paying you for access to your content?
Right. Okay.
Right. So those are the fields that, we've had some success in it, but we haven't been like shouting it from the rooftops as much. But these are the spaces that we see ourselves being in. My goal, and you know this, Rachel, like my goal is really to become your really smart, friendly sidekick attorney as you are pursuing your path to purpose.
Like, see, I thought that was just me. I thought I was special. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, girl, it's called ideal client advocacy. It's called marketing. It's called marketing for a reason.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good. But no, okay. But yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Not I'm loving it. I just love it. Wow. Meaning like I'm not trying to call back.
Look at you. Look at you.
All right. So
Gold
Ruky,
star.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So how can our listeners find you? Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements or workshops that you're hosting?
I do actually. Like I'm a little more booked and busy than I anticipated for the summer. So let's just start off with the basic social media platforms. Firm for the Culture everywhere. You can go to firmfortheculture.com if you want to book a call with us. You can go to Instagram, Firm for the Culture, TikTok, Firm for the Culture, Twitter or X, whatever they're calling themselves these days, Firm for the Culture. LinkedIn, Firm for the Culture. You can also look me up on LinkedIn. I'm really, really, really active on LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform. And you can look me up at Rukayatu, Rukayatu, Tijani, on LinkedIn. And you can also go to Substack, which is fftc.substack.com. Let me not get to lying. Yep, it is fftc.substack.com, where we share weekly tips as well as invitations to LinkedIn audio sessions, which are so fun. They're like, the bougie version of Clubhouse. So those are all of the platforms. And then in terms of speaking events, I believe I'm speaking at, I think it's called Connect Silicon Valley or CSS. Don't get me to line again, but I'm speaking at a huge Silicon Valley founders and tech event in the Bay Area like I was looking at the speaker lineup. I was like, oh, I have some heavy hitters, like
Oh,
legit
nice.
celebrities. I was like,
Nice.
okay.
Nice.
So I'm speaking there. Um, if you follow me on the socials, you'll see which one I'm speaking at. I don't recall the name right now. Uh, and yeah, I'm just continuing to put out more workshops. So, stay tuned for even more workshops that hopefully continue to speak to your story and the importance of protecting your IP.
Yeah, and I have to say, and you know this, I've attended many of your workshops. They're very educational. And I attend them even when I think I know the content. I'm like, let me just go see if she's going to drop some additional pearls of wisdom. Which, speaking of listeners, you might want to download and save this episode because Ruky dropped some serious pearls of wisdom for you. You need to go back and listen to this a couple times to make sure that you got your all your ducks in a row and think about what you want to do with regard to protecting your business and protecting your intellectual property. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
include links in the show notes I will look up the specific conference that Ruky's talking about, and I will put links in the show notes. If you want to receive a copy of our show notes, you can subscribe at subscribe.imperfectgenius.com. If you want to join a vibrant and supportive community of Black and brown women who are on your same path, we talked about community earlier in this podcast and how important it is and how isolating it can be to be a solopreneur and entrepreneur on your own. And also to my women in tech, it can be very isolating as well. There's not a lot of Black and brown women in tech. So if you want to be part of a vibrant community that's going to support you every step of the way, go to community.imperfectgenius.com. In fact, I am planning on talking to Ruky about hosting a workshop in the community, specifically for our community members. So, hey, you may want to head over there, check that out, because then you get some even more knowledge dropped on you. Plus, I mentioned earlier that I've got a behind the scenes bonus podcast episode that I'm planning to offer exclusively to my members only, community members only, where I talk about my reaction to my trademark journey when I found out that I couldn't use my original trademark and just sort of all the work that went ahead of that, and then the brand pivot. I just sort of give you all the gory details, all the behind the scenes details. And again, that's going to be offered exclusively to community members. Finally, you can always give us a call or text us at 404-425-9862 with your questions, and you might hear an answer to your question on a future podcast episode. You can follow us on social media at Ask Imperfect Genius. And until next time, I am Rachel Foster, reminding you that while your journey may not be flawless, it can be phenomenal. We got